So transitions. Obviously, I transitioned into broadcasting. I stayed with Good Morning America for 3 years. At this point, I was married and had kids and lived in Florida. And so every week, every 4 days, I would travel back and forth from New York to Florida, sometimes with kids, sometimes without, and tape the TV shows and then go on and introduce the piece or whatever it was on Good Morning America. So sometimes it's uncomfortable, but to get ahead, you've got to do things you don't want to do, right? So I learned the hard way that I wasn't very good at acting. I had been a Revlon contract girl. I replaced Laura Hutton with Ultima 2, and Revlon liked that she had done acting, and they paid for acting school, and she got movies, and then the movies at that point helped promote Revlon, and it was just a win-win. And so when I signed with them, they forced me. They're like, okay, we've got all this money for acting lessons, we've got all this money for voice lessons and media training, and we want to just, put all this money into you. And I remember thinking, I'm too practical to be an actress. Like, I can't pretend that's stupid. So I wasn't very good. And so I learned, don't focus on that because I'm not good. So I ended up doing a TV series for Perry Mason. And it was, I've seen it on TV, and it's hysterical because when you model, all these looks are important, right? All these so when you're acting, it's not so good. So I was a little over the top. I mean, you see actors and you got these close-up shots of them, and they're just like this subtle little, I'm angry look or whatever. For me, it would have been like, so I learned my strengths, and acting was not one of them. That's why you don't see me out there doing that. I did go into speaking, and I also started writing books, and I've got some ebooks on Amazon, and I wrote some other books, and I co-authored them with other writers. Question, how many of you have had the same job? I can't see you very well, but have you I see one. Oh, I see somebody. Okay, so, and have there been opportunities that you've turned down, or are you comfortable with where you're staying? So kind of this battle within, and why I'm here is because I want to encourage people to step out and try new things, whether it is business, whether it is something else, whether it's moving across country. I've lived in probably 10 states, 8 states, something like that. But the answer to questions, those big life questions you have, are does it give you peace? That's what I've learned. So do you have peace if you're supposed to move? Do you have peace if you're supposed to change job? So you need to know when to step into the unknown. So my battles now as I age are, do you ever give yourself a break? Is it okay to age gracefully, or am I supposed to fight like heck to try and stay younger and thinner, and at what cost do you do that? Different women handle that different ways. I've chosen not to have any plastic surgery on my face. I don't want anyone to touch it, so this is what a 62-year-old looks like. And then one other battle would be, do I get back into the business or do I have a regular job? So during COVID, when everything shut down, I'd been trying to develop a TV show, and that went the wayside. And a friend of ours, I live in Arizona now, so a friend of ours in Phoenix had a lab. He says, come down to the lab and start working. So I went down there, and my job for a while was making kits for COVID, because there were no such thing as kits because they weren't ready for it. So it was taking a certain swab from here and taking a certain vial from here, and then instructions for not using one vial and replace it with the other one, and then add saline. And so I built all these kits. So as the company grew from 15 to over 500 employees, I ran a whole 2 departments at the lab. And so I got good at doing something that was totally different. I was in charge of all the shipping, and at this point then we had 3 labs. I would sometimes ship out 11,000 test kits in a day. And I was in charge of dispatching drivers, couriers and drivers to different locations to pick up samples. So it was interesting that I found that I was good at organizing, knowing when supplies would get low. My husband was working by my side, and he's in procurement, so he would get all the things to make the machines run and buy the machines themselves. So, again, find things that you're good at doing. And when I was at that company with the 15 employees, there were a lot of different directions I could have gone because they needed help everywhere. And it was kind of interesting how you find what works for you and what you're good at.